And I am live. Welcome into my live post-game show here. I'm Scott Agness of Fieldhouse Files. Thanks to everyone for hanging on and joining me here after the Pacers Game 3 collapse. That's what it was. It was a game they should have had. It was a stranglehold of the series that was right in their grasp, and they let slip by. 106-100, the final in this one. Karl-Anthony Towns was a significant contributor in that fourth quarter, outscoring the Pacers by himself, or equaling it. Both teams, them scoring 20, Towns scoring 20. Just a disruptive fourth quarter that he had, to the point where Brunson was on the bench during much of it. It wasn't a very great game to watch, I don't think, because of all the foul calls. I mean, there were a combined 52 foul calls. There were a combined 63 free throws. I didn't think it was very good. Yes, a little later on, for those jumping on here. I estimate the time I try to get these things started, but remember, I was writing my story post game. The game completely flipped, so I was deleting everything I had written about the Pacers and having to correct it. Then I had to look up some history, and get this. As much as we in Indiana love racers and Pacers, the Pacers should not. They are now 0-4 when they have a home game, and there's the Indianapolis 500 as well. 0-4. Not very good. You're not going to take that at all. The four times, as I pull it up here, 2025, obviously. 2013, they lost to the Heat. 2004, a loss to the Pistons. And 99, a loss to the New York Knicks. So it was a tough one here today. Even at the Indianapolis 500, which I was over at, had full coverage there as well. It was a race that got started an hour late, just kind of due to sprinkles. Kind of reflects a little bit on this Pacers game, except they started poorly, got themselves in gear, got up by 20, went into halftime up by 13, 58-45, and then it just was not a very good second half from this Pacers team. There wasn't a lot to like. They completely got away from what had worked in that first half in particular. They were getting stops. Even though three-point shots did not fall in that first half, they still figured things out, had some explosive plays, got contributions from all over, led by TJ McConnell, of all players. I know you wouldn't expect that one. 10 points for him there in that first half. They had a 14-0 advantage in fast break points and scored just 2 the rest of the way. Karl-Anthony Towns, who did not make much of an impact for the first 3 quarters, he had 20 points in the fourth quarter. And I think the big difference to me in this game, the turning point, was the final 3 minutes of that third quarter, a 7-0 individual burst by Deuce McBride. Turner, I think, had a dunk. Pacers went in to that fourth quarter up by 10, 80-70. And from there, Towns took over, scored 15 of the Knicks' 17 points to open the fourth. He assisted on the bucket. He did not score. It was a 17-5 run to start that fourth quarter, as the Pacers just could not get anything started. And then from there, started questioning things. They kind of lost their composure. They got content, and it just was not a good look. And then late in the game, the offense just got stagnant, and they were unable to recover in what was then a 6-point loss. The Pacers, man, it's tough to win these games when it's 106-100, right? I think they much rather it be 120-112 type of game. It was a game filled with fouls, filled with foul trouble. And this team, I don't think they're going to win many games when they make 5 3-pointers, going 5 of 25. Knicks aren't that great of three-point shooting team, and they outscored the Pacers by 18 points from beyond the arc. All that to say, it was not a pretty game overall. I think the highlight of the game for Pacer fans had to be seeing so many of great alums back in the building. Travis Best, Roy Hibbert, Dale Davis, Steven Jackson, Rick Smits, Derek McKee, Reggie. I know I'm probably missing a couple, and I have a full list at fieldhousefiles.com in my At the Buzzer post-game column, but that had to be the highlight, I think. Also, it was very cool to see Indy 500 driver Alex Palou, who won earlier in the day. He had his winner's wreath on, came out, first time out of the second quarter, and celebrated with 17,274. I think that, too, was a special moment. But on the court, I don't think there was really too much that stood out. There were a couple runs. Obi Toppin had a couple big dunks. And then there was concern in that third quarter for Aaron Nesmith as he tweaked that right ankle Rolled it to, I think, the outside of Jalen Brunson's foot. Was subbed out, was obviously in pain, needed assistance from James Johnson and associate head athletic trainer Carl Eaton to get back to the training room. Came out with about 1 minute left, I think it was, in the third quarter. Returned to the game in that fourth quarter, but it was 37 minutes later in real time. Not good for an ankle, for it to get stiff. He did try to stay warm there, riding a stationary bike, but that's tough. That's probably the biggest thing we'll be tracking going into game 4 coming up on Tuesday. Also, Karl-Anthony Towns' left knee. He was hobbled. He was feeling it, in pain and discomfort clearly over the last couple of minutes. So a 6-point Pacers loss. Instead of grabbing hold of the series and basically putting the Knicks away, they give them a little bit of life. Now, with that said, I don't think it's a ton, because what we've seen in this series is the Pacers are clearly the better team. They clearly have more talent. Their style of play is going to win, and they're a much harder playing team, at least in this series. I didn't think they necessarily were entering this series, but that's shown to be true here over the 3-game sample size that we have so far. It's just they got away from it. I thought TJ McConnell, I don't like those between quarter interviews, but I thought he handled it well going into the fourth quarter when they were up by 10. He said, look, I think we got a little too happy, a little too satisfied, and got away from what worked. And that was absolutely true. And they went into that fourth quarter where they were outscored 36-20. That's unacceptable. Not good enough. They did have a couple successful challenges, which certainly worked in their favor, including one that erased a 3-point play for Karl-Anthony Towns. It became his, I think, third foul and was part of a big run, I want to say, in that third quarter. But the Pacers they just did not shoot it well. 3 of 16 start from distance, finished 5 of 25. That's a tough one to swallow, and I know that's something certainly this locker room's talking about after the game. Jinsey says, great series on our hands. I think so. Not as good as I thought. It has not nearly been as competitive as I predicted. I thought this was be back and forth, that maybe they'd split both games, but split the games in New York, split the games in Indy, have it, be 2-2 going into Game 5 in New York City, but that has not been the case. I think the Pacers have had mostly control of this series, certainly not the second half in this one tonight. Happy Memorial Day weekend, by the way, to everyone, and obviously all those that are in the armed services. We appreciate that, by the way. I thought this was canceled. No, Basil, I'm always jumping on here. Come on now. I think I said it at 11:30. Trouble is, again, the game completely flipped, so I had to rewrite things. Got to listen to the post-game press conference and get my story out to all my subscribers at fieldhousefiles.com. But I will never cancel one of these when I am available. Not at all. And if you missed it, you can obviously listen to the podcast of Fieldhouse Files. Heather, Fever fan, says apparently Caitlin Clark wasn't in the building. I don't think she was. I was not made aware of it. I know she wasn't at the Indianapolis 500. The only Fever player I was aware of was Lexi Hull. Obviously, no Pacers represented at the Speedway, and no surprise there being a game day. But, we did not see or hear anything about Caitlin being at the game. Aaliyah Boston was there. Michaela Timpson was there. Sophie Cunningham was there. Several staff members were there as well, I'm told. What else do we got? Complete choke. One for one for chokes for now. Yeah, there you go. ER Can, welcome. I'm a huge TJ McConnell fan. He tends to take shots he knows he can make in that mid-range. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's done a great job of mastering his game and where he can find the advantage. And one of those is driving baseline and either passing out of it or finishing reverse layup or side to side when the defense doesn't know it's coming. The other thing is dribbling and putting a kind of a lean back fadeaway, not exactly, from about 8 feet out. He's good at knocking that down. What was he tonight? Off the bench, 5 of 9 shooting, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Very good contributions from TJ in less than 16 minutes off the bench. He was easily the Pacers' best bench player. I don't think that's one thing that has given them Pacers as much advantage as we thought in this series was the bench. They've typically had like one player show big, but it hadn't been a huge domination. I know at the half, what was it, 23-7, the bench advantage there at halftime, which stood out for sure. But I would have liked to see TJ get more time, by the way, late in the game. He was the guy rolling. How about more of him in the fourth quarter? Yeah, Fever lost on Saturday. Pacers lost on Sunday. Only winner was Alex Below, but that's in an individual sport. Mr. Compton, when you don't put teams away, you risk potential injuries. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point as well. You extend the series, unfortunately. You also get less rest because of it. Now you're certainly going to have a game 5, and you got to go back to New York no matter what. Who knows what happens in that OKC Minnesota game series? We know it's certainly going at least 5 games because of Minnesota's response last night. But that could have been a huge advantage for the Pacers potentially. Now, realistically, I saw them winning this one in 5 games. It's just a matter of the one you give up. But to give up game 3, and that's probably the most interesting stat to me in this game and in this Pacers postseason. Not only are they 0-4 when there's Pacers and Racers Sunday on race day, but more than that, they are 0-3 in game 3s in this postseason. In Milwaukee, a bad loss. Cleveland, a horrible loss. Tonight, an epic collapse. In the other games, every other game, 10-0. So they hate to see game 3s coming. But yeah, it looked like a nasty role for Aaron Nesmith. I know he's going to have to get with his physical therapist coming up on Monday and get a lot of work done on that, a lot of treatment. You hope he's doing okay and can come out of it. You would have ideally not had to play him there in that fourth quarter, but they went back to him. You didn't see any kind of noticeable limp or discomfort, but that also, in my experience, usually comes with extended break. When you sleep on it, you wake up and there's swelling and soreness and such. You need to get right to that treatment, icing it, maybe cryotherapy, those sorts of things. But yeah, Mr. Compton, you're absolutely right. Exactly what you do not want to see when you were on the verge of taking a dominant 3-0 series lead, something nobody could have predicted going into this series whatsoever. Not at all. Seemed to me, Ryan says, the Pacers occasions were passing up potential layups to kick it out. Yeah, I would agree with that, especially Tyrese Halliburton. He did have 15 field goal attempts, which actually led this Pacers team. He had a team-high 20 points, but it was noticeable. I think it was in the third quarter. Yeah, he'd drive in and be a one-on-one, and that's where you'd really like the floater. You would. But instead, it may be a kick out. Now, with that said, here's the other thing, though. This team is built on its passing, making the better pass, trying to get the better shot. So it's also hard to ask them or want to see something more from them versus what they have done all season long, which had been effective, which had led to them being one of the best teams over the last 3 or 4 months or so. But I agree with that sentiment. PJs look like Cat was hobbled in the second half. Wonder if it will hamper him any. I don't know about second half. I think it was late in that fourth quarter, because early in the fourth quarter, he was dominant. 20 points, contributed, 17 of their first 19 points, I want to say, and assisted on that other basket. Then Brunson returned to the game and kind of helped him shoulder the burden there. But late in the game, I'm talking final 2 minutes, that's when I noticed him. Let me see if I wrote down the time. I did not. That's when he was kind of clutching his left knee and trying to stretch it and loosen it. Clearly had gotten tight on him. Derby, 20-point lead, immediately give up 7 points because Pacers think they can chuck up threes and turn the ball over multiple times. Yeah, it's tough. That into the third quarter is, I think, what was costly. It was 7 points in a row by Deuce McBride. Turner made a bucket. And then to start the fourth quarter, 17-4, I think it was. It's just brutal. Very brutal. Up until that point, the Pacers had the success in transition. They had not given up any transition buckets whatsoever. Knicks weren't good at that all game long. That's what completely changed the tide. And then to start the fourth quarter, it was brutal. They went over 5 minutes without a field goal. And so things aren't going your way already in the game. You're already not shooting well from distance, 20% from three. You can't have a 5-minute dry spell, not against a good team like the Knicks, a hard-playing team. I thought it was interesting, though, I will say, in that first half when we saw Tom Thibodeau go 9 deep on his roster. He's good for like 7, maybe 8 if there's foul trouble or an injury. But to see him go 9 deep and all of them play at least 12 minutes, that one was surprising. And I also think it's representative of the hole that they dug in the position that they were in, that they needed something to stem the tide, to change things up. What's up, MK Sinks? You've been here on every single one. Says Matherin seems like a liability tonight. Disgusted that they let this one slip away. Yeah, Matherin was not good. Again, it looked like the spotlight, the moment was too big for him. And I do give him a little grace given that he was not available for the postseason last year. He had not experienced any of this. He has not played in an Eastern Conference Finals, but he has played in big games. He has played hundreds of basketball games. He just didn't look sharp. He almost looked like deer in headlights a little bit. And we know he's a much better player than that. We know what he can contribute to this team. And so for him to come in there, only played 9 minutes, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a turnover, just was not sharp and justified the lack of minutes that Rick Carlisle gave him. He started the second quarter, made some mistakes, came out, played a little bit more, but that was just about it. Turner should not guard Towns. I think you got to mix it up ultimately. I think you had Turner on Mitchell Robinson at certain points and Siakam guarded Towns. But yeah, absolutely. You got to consider all those defensive matchups. I think it's interesting too, by the way, that the one big change the Knicks made coming into this one was starting Mitchell Robinson over Josh Hart. And I don't think it was very effective. I thought if anything, Josh Hart was more productive in his minutes. He finished with 8 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and it was a positive net rating when he was out there. Mitchell Robinson, who was good for about 10 rebounds per game at least in the first 2 games, only had 6 in this one. I don't think he was nearly as effective. Will the Legends be there in Game 4? I've not heard. I would guess a few of them, but not most of them, because keep in mind, it's a holiday weekend. It's much easier to get them here for a Sunday game versus, say, a Tuesday game when, Roy Hibbert was able to fly in and bring his kid. It's cool to see him wearing Turner's jersey, his kid wearing Hibbert's jersey, and enjoying that moment. Having him recreate that chug moment that he did with a Gatorade on the bench. I thought that was fun and in good taste as well. But a lot of them are spread out across the country. I think Dale Davis is in Atlanta, for example. And by the way, while we're on it, I should note, how about the matriarch of the team, the former GM of the team, Slick's wife, Nancy Leonard, making her first appearance, I think, according to my records, since early February. She's been battling some health issues. It happened to her. She's over 90, so she also battled some health stuff last year that kept her out and missed significant time. But it was so good to see her back in her spot there, her usual spot, right behind the bench, 2 rows back, next to the broadcast booth. And she was right there with Roy Hibbert, with Al Harrington. Only thing I did get a chuckle at is Al Harrington was brought in by the Knicks for the first 2 games. So he was there as a former Knick, then came here as a former Pacer. I thought that was kind of funny, but a well done job by Karen Atkinson and the Pacers to bring in some of those great former Pacers, especially that 2000 finals team. It wasn't exactly a reunion, but it was an opportunity for not only for them to get some shine, but for the Pacers to have some kind of semblance of a celebrity row, because that's something the Knicks did a very good job of. You can go back to my At the Buzzer column after the first couple of games and see exactly who was there, from John Hamm and other actors and actresses and musicians, but also a good dozen names of former players. And it's a little bit easier for them, obviously, being in New York City, but Larry Johnson, John Starks, Patrick Ewing, Walt Clyde Frazier, the list goes on. I thought that was phenomenal then for the Knicks, and I thought the same as well for what the Pacers were able to do. Derby says an injured Neesmith is not a good Neesmith. Well, what injured player is a good player, right? Like, come on. We've seen this in the past. Carlisle should not have allowed for him to play. Here's my other point where I'll interrupt there. I don't think we should make any of those assumptions because we don't know what happened. We don't know what his ankle looked like. I know they taped it up behind the scenes. The head athlete or the associate head athletic trainer went back there. The GM was back there. Team doctor was back there. I trust them to make a good call. They can get x-rays. I'm sure they did. Ideally, no, you do not have to send him back in there, because no matter who it is, you rather not force a further issue when it's vulnerable, right? But I'm never going to judge a player for their injury or tell them how to treat it, because it's not me. I don't know how he's feeling. And I don't know what the doctors advise them. They're the experts. So that's where I'll caution you a little bit, Derby, with that. Ideally, yes, you do not want him out there, though. You're exactly right. Happy Memorial Day to you and everybody. Let's see what else. As bad as the Pacers look tonight, PJ said, for long stretches, only losing by 6 seems like a net positive, I guess. But I don't think at this point of the season, this point of knowing how good this Pacers team is, that you want any, uh, I forget what it's called, but positives to take out of this one at all. You lost this game. It's as simple as that. And if I'm Rick Carlisle, that's your message. Because they lost, they're not going to post a video from the locker room. But I guarantee that's his message. It's going to, hey, get the stick out of your butt and let's go. We got to play and get back to playing Pacers basketball. You got to get scoring in transition. You got to knock down some shots. Let's defend without fouling and remove any hope that the Knicks now have for the rest of the series. That's what you got to get at them for. You're not looking back, well, we only lost by 6. Well, we were up by 20 and we still clawed back despite getting down by as many as 6 there late. No mental victories or whatever. Yep, Sophie was there. That's what I said earlier. Absolutely, she was there, as well as Leah Boston, Michaela Timpson. John Halliburton still not welcome back. I was told he still hasn't received clearance from the league and the Pacers to return to games, so he was watching on TV like all of you. A lot new people in here, which I appreciate. Lomel thought Knicks got away with more physicality in the third quarter, legal or not, and it really slowed the Pacers down. I think it was just a game that there was too many whistles. There were. I know many of you will joke that the Scott Foster was assigned by the NBA. He's the extender, right? You don't want to see a series be 3-0 or 4-0 or anything like that. But I just thought there were too many whistles. And then when they did blow the whistles late in the game, it was like, really? You're calling that, but you didn't call this or whatever. I've just seen some bad officiating in the last week from the WNBA and now in the NBA a little bit. That's been the frustrating thing. You want player freedom of movement. You want guys to decide it on the court. You don't want ticky-tack fouls, and you don't want to have to use challenges. I think Rick Carlisle was 2-0 on his. Tom Thibodeau lost out on his, but the fact that the coach is using 3 challenges, I don't like where that was at. Let's see. Got a lot more comments. Did the Fever set the tone with their loss yesterday? I see. I know what you're saying there. Yeah, I think maybe the officials did a little bit. But yeah, it was a tough weekend for Pacers Fever fans. 0-2, and you didn't get Caitlin Clark at the Indy 500, so maybe it was an 0-3 weekend. Jarris Walker missing in action couldn't have helped tonight. What about Thomas Bryant? All right, now you're really reaching. I don't think Thomas Bryant's going to help you too much. Clearly, they like what they see from Tony Bradley in practice and in this matchup with Mitchell Robinson. A little bit more physical, a little bit more finesse, a little bit better of a rebounder in their mind. And so he's getting some minutes out there. But you're talking about 15 minutes for Tony Bradley. Certainly, we didn't think about that at all coming into this series. I can tell you that. Maybe 5 minutes due to injury. That's probably been the biggest personnel surprise for the Pacers to this point. Now, in terms of Jarris Walker, here's the thing. As much as I would like to see it, I also keep in mind what we're seeing from Mathurin. Inexperience. Is the moment too big? Do you make more mistakes than it's worth? I don't know. I'm very torn on that, quite frankly. And so maybe it's a cop-out, but that's where I kind of lean on the coaching staff that are seeing him in practice, that are seeing him in off days, how he looks playing 3-on-3 and 5-on-5. And allowing for that to help dictate whether he should get time out there. Because what you don't want to do is put him out there and you're up by 5. And not only do you kill his confidence, but the team, goes in a rut, goes on another dry spell. You're really looking for a perfect opportunity. And so far, I just don't think there has been one, Derby. Pacers lost because Nesmith got hurt. No, it's not that simple. It's not. We saw the Knicks cut the lead to 10 there. There in the third quarter, and he was already missing time by that stretch. But to your point, where was that big run? It was when Nesmith was unavailable into the third, start of the fourth quarter. No doubt about that. But I'm not going to blame any of this on his him not being available there, even though there was some overlap. Felt like momentum shifted when Aaron got hurt. Yeah, someone else just said that. I think they needed to find ways to get Siakam a bit more open, and he was hitting shots, but they'll correct it. Yeah, that seems like a comment I feel like we can all say after every game, just because he's not the most assertive guy, and also they don't make a point to get him the ball a ton. He made half of his shots, 7 of 14, missed his 3-pointer. there. But yeah, I believe they can always get Siakam the ball more. To me, I would run it a little bit more through him in the half court. Now, when they're running and gunning, you're just finding the open man, finding the best shot available. But in general, I totally agree. I love to see them get Siakam more open and more touches. And then if anything, you can run it through him. And if a double team collapses on him, there's going to be an obvious kick out. He's a smart enough player, which he'll figure it out. PJ's Matherin doesn't seem to have the same fire he did against the Bucks or Cavs. Yeah, that's hard to judge. I think if anything, it just seems like the spotlight's huge. Like he's out of his comfort zone. Is kind of how I view that. Maybe it's what they're asking him to do. Maybe it's not being in rhythm. And when, in needing to break a sweat before you can really get out there and do something. But so far, it has not been good return from Matherin here in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I thought Reggie Miller was quite blunt about that after his first couple of minutes. What's up, Kimono? Pacers lost momentum at the end of the second quarter, the last 3:20 around the time Nesmith got hurt. That was the third quarter, right? Nesmith got hurt. I believe it was the third quarter, unless I'm crazy. Yeah, third quarter. 6:06 left after driving on the baseline. Absolutely. So it was that third quarter. Then the Knicks finished the quarter on a 7-2 run. Turner made that, I think, dunk to finish the period. And then there was that big run, 16-4, 17-5, actually, to start that fourth quarter then for the Knicks. So that's tough. I do not know if the Pacers flew them in. I don't know the logistics and all that. I would love if somebody interviewed any of them. Probably didn't, but that seems like a no-brainer to me. Go up and talk to 2 or 3 of them there at the game. Seems the Pacers didn't take advantage of Brunson and Cat with both fouls. Totally agree with that. Great point. That's where you really want to hunt the matchups and get them in trouble. I mean, it felt like Towns had 4 fouls for over a quarter, and then he got a 5th foul there with 2 minutes left in the game, I think it was. By then, it was probably too late. And Brunson had, 4 fouls in the first half, didn't he? And he finished with 5. That felt like, you're absolutely right, a missed opportunity for the Pacers. Some of these comments are fun. I don't even need to get into. Asking about Tony Bradley's play. I'll answer that, but that's the least of the worries, I think. I think he was solid. I think he did exactly what the Pacers asked of him. Thought he was a good rebounder. He was physical. Not a good three-point shooter. They don't need him to take those outside shots. You're good with taking the best shot, but what did he throw up 2 of those? No, just 1. 1 of 2 from the field. Made his shot inside the arc. Missed his one outside the arc. But I thought he did way more than you would have expected from him, rose to the moment, and did quite well in his 15 minutes out there for sure. There you go, Derby. I appreciate it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to provide some reason. I'm trying to provide some context, and I'm trying to provide some insight in all of these as well, right? Like, talk about Aaron Nesmith's injury. Like, look, the doctor, after probably seeing x-rays along with the athletic trainer, is not going to throw him in there if his ankle's already swelled up like a cantaloupe, or it doesn't look good, or he twisted it so bad that it's not in good shape. It's going to take multiple people to approve him to go out there. I'm just using this as an example of having reasoning. Yes, you do not want him back out there. Yet at the same time, there's some levels of clearance. And also, Aaron's got to feel good about it. He rode a stationary bike to get it warmed up, then went out there. So I think it's important when you're not involved to trust those involved for the most part. Now, if you see things and repetitive and they don't work, it's also good to be skeptical and to call it out when necessary, and to question processes like the Pacers draft the previous 10 years when it was just bad. Now they've hit the last 3 or 4 years, but before that, that was one thing. You had to look back at the process and evaluate, hey, what are we doing here? Because something's not right, for example. So those are the things that I try to go for when I talk to things. But I appreciate that comment there. Sounds like Knicks, the commentators were pessimistic. They stopped rooting. Well, they should stop rooting and provide a journalistic outlook at this. But if they're pessimistic, I totally get it. I mean, all of us that have watched this series, how could you not see that the Pacers were the dominant team, that they're outplaying them, that they're out hustling them? I mean, part of my column that I was writing for after the game was how the Pacers had kind of squashed everything that you could think out for these Knicks. They kind of looked like they were on the verge of being deflated and helpless and just torn up and frustrated with the way in which things have gone. And every time the Knicks were on a run, the Pacers had an answer, and then they had depth, and then they had good shooting. And they had some good free throw shooting early on. I think they were 8 of 8 at halftime. But then you look post game, 27 of 33, got a lot of free throws, but in a 6-point loss, you missed 6 free throws. That stings when you consider the Knicks were 3 better than that, 27 of 30. Very good, including Jalen Brunson, who scored 10 of his 23 points at the line, by the way. Pacers free throws. Yeah, Mr. Compton, there you go. You were about to get into that. Exactly. Totally agree. Lindy, appreciate the comment there. Absolutely. But yeah, again, just summarize a couple of things I've talked about. I think it was interesting they went with Bradley over Thomas Bryant to guard Mitchell Robinson. I think you'll continue to see that moving forward. I thought it was notable that Ben Shepherd, along with Obi Toppin, were the Pacers' first 2 reserves off the bench. Ben Shepherd was kind of that 9th, 10th guy in the rotation, but not tonight. He was part of that first subs that went into the game. So I thought that was absolutely notable. Carlisle and his staff continue to crush their challenges. Even though I disagreed with the first one, it turned out to be a good one and successful. It was that Karl-Anthony Towns, he made the and one, I think, on Tyrese Halliburton. And I thought Ty fouled him before Towns did, right? He got his arm, and then Towns was like, "What are you doing?" So he kind of threw it off of him, then in turn responded and got the foul. But, man, that was a big difference because it would have been a 3-point play. And in turn, I think pretty sure the Pacers went down, scored after that, and kind of squashed it. And so that was a significant one. One I wouldn't have challenged if it was me. I wouldn't have. I thought it was not big enough, too big of a gamble, and you don't want to burn a challenge like that in the first half. But well done by Carlisle and Mike Weiner on the bench there. A couple other things. What else did I want to mention here? There was several. Yeah, the 3-point shooting was not good. 5 of 25, starting 3 of 16. That's not going to win you many games. It's really not. Not fouling, forcing the fouls from Karl-Anthony Towns and Brunson. You got to capitalize on that. I was a little surprised about that. Knicks won despite only shooting 44% from the field. They weren't all too good. Only assisted on 13 of 34 shots, and they won the rebounding battle. No, sorry, they didn't. They were -1 on the rebounding battle. How about that? It just turned out that fourth quarter start for Towns was all the difference in this one. That was the brutal issue there. A couple other stats I want to repeat because I thought they were pretty significant. Pacers now 0 for 3 this postseason in game 3, 10-0 otherwise. Pacers 0-4 all time when there's Pacers and Racers. So that was absolutely notable. And then this was also the first playoff win for the Knicks at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I thought that was a good note as well through all those games. And it was cool to see Roy Hibbert in there. And they played during one of the timeouts his block on Carmelo Anthony, who was at both game 1 and game 2 at the Garden, by the way. And so now the Pacers know this series extended by at least to the weekend. There will at least be a game 5 after Tuesday because they lost this one. Do I have a shot selection breakdown? How many threes did they take in the third and fourth quarter? Yeah, I can get that real fast. In the third and fourth quarter here, Pacers were 2 for 12. 2 for 12. The shots they made inside the arc, they finished 12 for 26. So 50% or so inside the arc, 2 of 12 in that second half, Basil, from beyond the arc. And that's why I also didn't like them settling for a couple threes late because that shot's not going. Instead, I would have loved to see them attack, get to the line where they were 12 of 15 there in the fourth quarter. So, man, that was tough. It really was. And so that's where they're at right now. And, you respond. You have an off day kind of tomorrow, at least from a basketball standpoint, but you're going to review film. You're going to get treatment. And in addition to that, you're going to get with your physical therapist, get massage therapy, all that different stuff headed into game 4. All right, a couple more questions. Mr. Compton, do you or other journalists use AI to help write articles? Is it helping? I will use it for headlines. That's it. Mostly because I'm also writing mini headlines, and at this point in the night, that's my biggest weakness. Always has been. So I'm doing a podcast title. I'm doing a YouTube title. I'm doing my story title. I'm doing a YouTube SEO title. So I think it's somewhat helpful. But the trouble is, it doesn't use my voice. It's good in theory, but not that great just yet. I think in turn it's so important, especially when you want some personality, you want some context, you want some analysis. I don't think you can really use that too much. Scott, have I considered a career as a hostage negotiator? I have a talent for talking people down. There you go. I appreciate that compliment, but no, obviously have not whatsoever. Obi seemed to have words with Landers Shamet after flopping. I missed that. I'll have to watch that when I watch the game back coming up tomorrow. Basil, I know you're too nice to agree, but I still feel sorry for you given you have to. I'm not going to read that, but yeah. My biggest frustration is just kind of how I'm treated by certain people over there at the Pacers that I see all hundreds of people that are credentialed there, and me, as the longest tenured beat writer, do not have a credential for these games right now, which is laughable to me, quite frankly, given my history for the franchise. On top of that, for the previous 10 years. But that's all I really have to say about that. But overall, just kind of to wrap up, just a disappointing loss and performance, really, too, by the Pacers as well. This was a huge opportunity. I mean, for them to go up 3-0 at this point, and I mean, you had this Knicks team struggling. You did. You're up 13 at half. Jalen Brunson was okay. Karl-Anthony Towns had not done anything. He was pulled from the lineup last game. Inserted Mitchell Robinson instead of him. They were seeking any kind of answers. The home court was fantastic tonight at the Fieldhouse with the gold out, and the core court was back as well. You had, again, all the legends in the building. This just feels like a big collapse that turned out to be a missed opportunity heading into Game 4 coming up on Tuesday night. Again, 8 p.m., airing on TNT. That's the thing. That's a challenge in all this. No, Mike's not covering sports. He's teaching down at IU and has probably for the last 5 years or so. Basil, I'm just bummed Pacers can't dust off the brooms for Game 4. It doesn't matter as much how you do it, only that you do it, right? I know you want to have some fun with it. Absolutely. But sweep or not, what you want to do if you're the Pacers is handle it at Game 5, get a little bit of rest, because the first date for the NBA Finals. That is set. It's June 5th. So the earlier you can finish off the semifinals, the better off you will absolutely be. That's nothing. That's not obvious for anyone out there. But because we know the date for Game 1, that kind of helps dictate where things are at right now. Same thing goes for OKC. They're going to want to finish off the Timberwolves in 5 games. They're up 2-1 in that series. Very much the same situation, except OKC won the first 2 games there at home. So where the games were won is kind of the only thing that was different there. But in this one, it was Towns that was the difference. McBride, the final 7 points there in the third quarter. Then Towns took over in the fourth quarter. The Pacers outscored 61-42 in the second half, where the Knicks shot 50%. The Pacers shot 37%. Pacers turned it over 9 times in the second half as well, and they scored 2 transition points over the final 24 minutes. For all those reasons and more, it's a 2-1 series now here on this Sunday night. That wraps it up for this live post-game show. I appreciate everyone for joining me here as usual, plus the newcomers that jumped in as well. We'll talk to you all again coming up on Tuesday night. Very much looking forward to that. Hope everybody has a great rest of your Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy it on Monday, and I will talk to you all again soon. Thanks again for everyone who joined me here tonight.